Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Open Era podcast, your Are We Being Sued by FanDuel Yet of tennis news and criticism. I am your host, Simon Bushell, and it is that time again. It is the sequel to the Open Era draft, the electric boogaloo, if you will. We are delighted to welcome some new players as well as some existing favourites. As we evolve, we've made some slight changes to the rules, but our existing scoring structure has remained the same. It follows like this. If a team makes a selection who goes on to be champion, then they will score 10 points. A finalist will score 7, a semi-finalist 5, a quarter-finalist 4, fourth round 3, third round 2, second round 1. Our biggest change is that we've done something that the PTPA or the ITF have failed to do. Yes, we have united the tours. When a player makes a selection, they are allowed to choose from either the ATP or the WTA. This should add an element of randomness to the proceedings and make it so even those who are picking later on have a decent shot of winning it all. We're also going to keep our wild cards. These selections will be made after all 6 rounds have been made, and those players will score double points. The only hitch, of course, these players must be unseeded and have not been selected so far. With all of the technical jargon out of the way, I'm so happy to introduce our guests. The draft was once again randomized, and we will go in snake order, starting with the person who owns the first overall selection, Vansh Famani of Tennis and Bagels. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Really excited about this draft. And shall I begin with my pick?
Not quite yet. We're just going to do a round of introductions. What is your team name? I trust that you brought a good pun with you.
My team name is Tennis Soap. SOAP is actually an acronym, so it stands for Stats, Observations, Analysis, and Parallels.
I think the person who has the second overall selection in this draft, in Luke Peresti, will be utterly thrilled to hear that, Luke.
Happy to be back for the second Open Era draft. I was having trouble coming up with a suitably punny name. And so I'm going to go for a classic Jeopardy style before and after. And we're just going to go with Billie Jean, King Arthur, Ashe.
Oh my goodness. Terrific. I did say that I wanted shit puns or something of the equivalent of it. So I'm pleased to hear that you've gone with that. Third overall selection is held by Priyanka Dobson. Pri, welcome back to the show. What is your team name, and do you have a draft strategy this time around?
I swear someone picked You Got Served last time, no? Because that's a classic tennis pun. So I am instead going to go with Team White Bear, which is a very good dumpling place in Flushing, right by the Flushing Meadows USTA Tennis Center where the US Open takes place. So anybody listening, before you get to the stadium or to the area, grab some dumplings at White Bear. It's like very, very good. And it sounds vaguely, threatening, intimidating. There's a bear, So that's my team name. And if the randomness of that does not, I think that should give a sense of what my draft strategy is going to be. It's probably also pretty random.
This show actually sponsored by Team White Bear. By White Bear, the restaurant. So all good to know. The fourth overall selection is the reigning champion, Pog. Welcome back. It was Pog's Pointless People last time. What is it this time?
I just realized that I didn't come up with a name before we started, so I've been a bit panicked. But in a flash of brilliance, I think something has come to me, and my team will be called "Oh Gentle Andrew, Where Art Thou?" in reference to Emma Raducanu's missing coach, Gentle Andrew.
That's not the Andrew I thought you were going to be referring to.
Yeah, there's some other Andrews that are tennis related that I was thinking of.
Who, Mr. Murray?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, he's
Andrew Castle.
Oh, well, no, okay. Let's not go there.
The fifth selection in this draft is held by Devang Desai, co-host of this show, Dev. Not to put too much pressure on you, but I do expect a win, given the performance last time. Thanks. What is your team name, and do you have a strategy?
Well, first of all, I did pretty well last time, just saying. That sometimes the expectations are a bit too high, and it's not leading to a conducive work environment, but we'll talk about this off the air. Simon, we talked about strategy and where we want to go with this, but I'm going very hard on the Americans, and I was going to choose Uncle Sam's Query as my team name, but I'm going with the Douchebags.
I'm glad to hear that you went with that instead. It was beautiful to hear. The last selection, the sixth, is our final participant, James Shank. Welcome back. TikTok Tennis's own. 2 weeks in a row, James. You're starting to get a loyalty card from Open Era. What is your team name, and do you have a draft strategy?
Yeah, so my team name is going to be a little bit more realistic. So my team name is called Probably Dead Last. And my strategy is just to just go right down the middle, because last time I tried to sort of do too much thinking. So I'm just going to kind of turn the brain off and just go by bracket.
Sounds good to me. With all of the introductions out of the way, we begin round one, the first overall selection. As a reminder, you can go anywhere you want. ATP, WTA, there is no limits on it, unlike last time. The first overall selection is made by you, Vanch. I have no idea where you're going on this. I'm very intrigued. Who is the first overall selection in the 2022 US Open Era Fantasy Draft?
Ooh, so I'm going to be really boring and go with the man who has been undefeated in majors this year. A 36-year-old Spaniard with a receding hairline. He has a kind draw in the first week, and of course after that it gets pretty difficult to bet against him. So I'm going to go with Rafael Nadal.
Oh, man.
Woof.
Thought I had a shot this time. Not him.
Shock.
Luke, I guess you weren't expecting Rafael Nadal to be there, or were you?
I'm a little surprised. I'm going to take it, though. And I'm going to go with the defending champ, I guess.
Which one?
Mr. Daniil Medvedev, who I think has, a pretty nice draw, and he's well rested, having not played Wimbledon. And why not? I think outside the bun.
Indeed so. Daniil Medvedev, the second overall selection. So we've gone ATP as the first two. Priyanka, there's a pretty big name sticking out there on the WTA side. Where are you going to go? Third overall.
Now I feel a lot of pressure to think of who this name was, because I think the WTA is wide open, personally.
World number one off the back of whatever it was, a 90-match winning streak earlier in the season. But no, I'm not looking to pressurize a selection here.
Well, I picked her in Wimbledon, and she, did only okay. I say, throwing Jade at the world number one, as if I could do any better. So I'm actually not going to succumb to peer pressure coming specifically from Bush. And I think I might go with... See, I'm playing the long game of who I think is going to get pretty far, right? In terms of draft strategy. So I think I'm going to go with Taylor Fritz. I feel like he has a strong chance to get to a semi. I think he's got a lot of momentum, and it's home country advantage. And again, I moved into a new home yesterday, so I'm woefully unprepared for this draft. Just going with my instincts. And he actually was on my former team as well. Speaking of throwing shade. So yeah, not going for the WTA this time. Sorry, ladies.
I think that was a great pick, if only to hear Dev's howl of anguish.
My entire strategy was built around Taylor Fritz. I'm not even joking. This is a dark
welcome.
day.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, guys.
The crushing resignation in Devang's voice as he says all of those things. So the third three selections: Rafael Nadal, Daniil Medvedev, Taylor Fritz. Pog, oh gentle Andrew, where art thou? The fourth overall selection. Who are you taking?
Where art thou? Well, I am firmly in Poland. I am taking Świątek. It's a no-brainer for me. Let's remember this incredible run from earlier in the season began in February in Qatar. And then she won the Sunshine Double. So, getting back on the hard courts and the big stage, UH Open, might be the one. So, Świątek.
I think that's a fairly safe pick. I don't have any things to add to that or any quips to throw your way. And we move very swiftly to the fifth overall selection and the deuce bags. Devang, it's not Taylor Fritz. Are you going to pick Jensen Brooksby instead?
Not yet, at least, but I'm going to stay on my strategy, even though it has had a huge hit to it. I'm going Jess Pegula with my pick, my first pick.
JPEG in the Bills.
Great draw, and even if she doesn't win it, to kind of go to what Pri was saying, I need people to make some runs, some deep runs, and I think she'll get to the second week.
I think if you were to ask us in January of 2022 whether Jess Pegula would be the second woman picked, we would all have been very, very surprised. But I'm not sure we're surprised at this point, given the run that she's been on, given the season, and given the surface. I like the pick, Dev. I don't know if I feel confident in it, but whatever. We'll move on swiftly. James probably dead last. What's your first overall selection here?
First of all, selection. I will stay. So I get two back to back, right? I'm the
you do
invert.
indeed.
Yes, good. Okay. So I will stay on the WTA side, and I will go with a player thinking kind of similar to Priyanka, kind of someone's going to go deep and get some points. So my first pick will be Simona Halep. No reaction from the peanut gallery. All right, that's fine. And then my second pick will be over to the ATP, and I will pick Carlos Alcaraz.
Carlito, Charlie himself, goes off the board. Carlos Alcaraz, for those not keeping score, is the third seed at the US Open. How the mighty have risen in the space of a year. Pretty spectacular. Dev, your second pick, there's some big names gone off the board, but there's still a very, very wide swath of players available to you, specifically on the WTA, which is going to be very, very difficult to pick. Are you staying with Team USA?
As much as I want to, I can't really, but I'll stay in the hemisphere-ish, kind of, or what free trade agreement has been locked in between North and South America. Anyways, not to digress, I'll go with Haddad Maia for my second pick, also in the WTA.
That's cool.
Yeah, who knows, right? Throw the dice, but someone that I've had a great time watching recently, so why not pick her as well so I can enjoy her wins extra double?
I mean, not to throw shade at my own co-host in the middle of this game, but should you really be rolling the dice on your second overall selection? Shouldn't it be a lot more obvious?
This is the second place. This is a silver medalist, sir. Just to reiterate where I stand.
I love the idea that the second overall pick, I don't know, man, my strategy's gone already, so I'm screwed here. I'm just going to have to go random. Anyway, that's a pretty good pick. She's got a real chance here as well. The draw is relatively tough.
Devang, is there going to be a revocation of your passport in a potential Haddad Maia versus Andreescu second round match?
I don't think she'll beat Harmony Tan, to be honest, because the Tan Masters in the way. But
that's fair.
Yes, Luke, it's the answer.
Okay, Paul, you're up. Who is your second overall pick in round two?
I've got to go for Coco. Seems like she's building towards something, and she has by far and away the best shoes in the tournament this year.
Cutting analysis here from Pog of why he's chosen the world number one in doubles. Coco Gauff, who did make the final of the French Open this year. This hard court will be slow, it'll be difficult, and I wonder whether or not we're going to see a few clay courters run deep in this tournament. Very good selection. I like that one a lot. Priyanka, who do you have?
I am going to go with Daria Kasatkina.
Alrighty. Makes news on and off the court. Her season so far has been very, very good, and she's won a few hearts and minds in this part of the world as well. Great selection. Luke, who do you have?
Sorry, I'm just surprised that this player is still available, so I'm like doing some Googling to make sure that there's not like a sneaky injury that I don't know about. And I haven't seen anything yet, so I don't know. I guess I'm going to go with Ons Jabeur.
Interesting. Fresh off a photo shoot involving a fencing outfit. Whether or not that will stand her in good stead for this tournament, we don't know.
That's why I didn't pick her, to be honest. That because of the photo shoot is the main reason I did not pick her.
Very fair, very reasonable. Vanch, close out round two for us. Who do you pick?
So I'm actually going to go for WTA player Ludmila Samsonova. She's not seeded, but I definitely think she's on a great streak right now, like 10 match winning streak. Just won yesterday another title, and she likes fast courts. So I do think these conditions will be good for her. She's kind of under the radar as well.
I tell you what, that is off the menu, but it also makes a ton of sense given the run that she is on. A fantastic selection, and you go back to back to kick us off in round three. where are you going with your third pick,
So
Raj?
I'm going to go for Yannick Sinner.
Oh, man.
In a part of the draw, which I think will be beneficial, it's not a tremendously difficult element of the draw. Do you have a reason why he stands out to you, Vanch?
I think he's been pretty consistent in the majors lately, and he's playing some good power tennis. I think his draw is very favorable as well, and I like his chances a lot to get there, especially because his seed in the fourth round is Hubie Hurkacz, and he has some difficult opponents in the first 3 rounds to get there. So I do like his chances, and Darren Cahill in his corner as well.
Mr. Consistent at the majors. The dude just keeps finding ways to get to fourth rounds. The real issue is getting past that stage. Will it be this time round for Yannick Sinner? I think I am president of the Sinner fan club, so I really hope so. Otherwise, I'm going to have egg on my face for the amount of time I've hosted this podcast and brought it up. Luke, save me from my mad ramblings. Who is your third overall pick?
So I've experienced the classic draft moment when the person you were about to pick gets sniped just before you pick. And now I'm scrambling for a replacement option. And in the greatest of all scrambling traditions, I'm going to do something that I'm not sure about, but I'm going to take the on-court coaching legend, Stefanos Tsitsipas.
Oh. He's going to be like a pig in shit this year because he can actually be coached legally. He's going to love it.
Yeah, he won't have to hide it shamefully. No. Oh, wait, he wasn't doing that anyway.
A fascinating pick. Talk about wide open in terms of where the women's draw could be. The men's draw also, once you get past the first few names, I think this is a slow surface. I think he's going to do pretty well on this. And that one big weakness that he has in terms of backhand return, I think this surface allows him to get a little further forward and be a bit more aggressive. I like the pick a lot. And I do also like the fact that he's going to get some on-court coaching as well. And I think it seems to have helped him significantly anytime that has happened. So we'll see what happens. Priyanka, your third pick.
Oh, man. I'm already like, it's the wild, wild west and anything can happen. And given my lack of homework, which I don't pride myself not having done, I'm going to go with, and this is a controversial pick because I like his first round. I feel warmly towards his first round opponent, but I'm going to pick Mr. Bust a Move, as I maybe offensively call him, Pablo Carreño Busta, recent Masters winner.
PCB, fresh off his biggest title of his career, someone who also Mr. Consistent, and this surface will suit. We saw him make the semifinals twice here, much to the chagrin of Nick Kyrgios, who still, I think, does not rate this poor dude. PCB also doing the rounds in Thirst Twitter, I noticed during the course of the week for some bizarre reason. Again, Hog, please save me from myself. Who was your third selection here?
You know, this is totally irresponsible, but miracles do happen, people. So I'm going for Naomi Osaka. Osaka. You know, she's got a bit of history with this tournament, and she's very good at tennis. She's just in a bit of a trough at the moment, but, you know, miracles can happen. So go Naomi.
I guess the question is, will she make it out of the first round?
Oh, wait, who's she playing?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, well, you know, that's a good proving ground, right? If she can beat Collins in the first round, that's a bit of momentum. And I don't know, you know, we all know she's got the level. I think motivation is the issue. And this is the US Open. So a first round win then could get a bit of momentum, and you never know. And she'll like the narrative of everyone thinking she's washed up and then blasting through the US Open. So, yeah, I'm going for Naomi.
Good pick.
I think a potential Raducanu versus Osaka third round would be the US Open of takes.
Fascinating. I couldn't tell if I would want to be on tennis Twitter for that or would not want to be on tennis Twitter for that.
Very fair. Devang, who is your third overall selection in this year's US Open draft?
I could not call myself the douchebags and not take Nick Kyrgios, so I'm picking Nick Kyrgios just to maintain brand continuity and streamline this.
As I was searching through the betting favorites, his odds have shortened during the course of the week. He is now considered the fourth favorite for this tournament on the ATP side, if you consider that to be any measure of success, what the betting markets think in the sport of tennis. That being said, he has had a good year. I still think the best he's going to do at this tournament is blowing out spectacularly in a 5-setter in round 2 or 3, which we may see. But then again, he did make a Wimbledon final. James, close out round 3 for us. Who is your third selection?
Yep. So for my third selection, I'm going to jump back to WTA. And again, this might be controversial, but this is the person I'm picking to win the whole tournament. So we'll see how she does. But drum roll, please. I'm picking Aryna Sabalenka.
Wow.
We talked about this last week. Simon, you and I talked about this, and I'm gonna put it on out there. I know she's got a tough road to hoe, but I think she's, I don't know. I feel like there's that things have changed. Things feel like they're changing now. Again, watch her go out in the first round.
Anyone at the top of their head furthest she's been in the Grand Slam? I think it's a semi-final last year at the US Open. I guess Wimbledon this year is, but last year
as well.
2 semi-finals. Can she go one step further? I say this on the top of my head without wanting to look like an idiot. It is hard to track 250 players in terms of where they've got to in Grand Slams. That is the end of round 3. We will come back to round 4 after the break for 4, 5, 6, and of course the wild card. Join us after the break. Welcome back to the Open Era podcast. James, kick off round 4 for us, your 4th overall selection. We've started to get into the depths of tennis knowledge now. Who are you reaching into for your bag of tricks for your 4th overall selection?
So for my 4th selection, this is kind of looking at the draw and kind of thinking how things are going to shake out. I'm going to go with, could have been a wild card, but I'll just choose him in the main group here. I'm going to go with Brandon Nakashima.
Hey, I like it.
Any particular reason, James?
Well, again, looking at the draw, he's got her catch in his line as well as Sinner. I'm sentimentally I'm picking Chris Eubanks to beat Jan Sinner. That is a total heart, not a head. Oh. But I figured if Eubanks gets that done, then Nakashima might be able to take him out in the 3rd round. And then Hurkacz has struggled a little bit here in the U.S. Open. So I thought Nakashima, these are his courts. I feel like he's due for. He's had a not so, a pretty solid summer hard court season. Again, felt like last year was a little flashier. Felt like a little bit of a downgrade. So coming into the U.S. Open feels like he's going to be primed to kind of go forward. I know, Vansh, I know that I feel like I might have sniped him off you. I know you're a big fan of Nakashima as well. But looking at the draw, that's who I think might be able to come through.
Love it. Great selection. Devang, who is your 4th overall pick?
Heading back to America, a bit worried about a potential Coco Gauff meeting, but like what I've seen lately, I'm going to go with Madison Keys.
All right. Sharp intake of breath. I like the pick as well. I was actually going to message you about Madison Keys, so I'm glad that you picked her. Also, by the way, it should be mentioned, it's definitely just Devang doing this. There's no assistance from me in any capacity. Should be noted here.
Do you think that would help? Earnestly, I earnestly asked Bush, do you think your advice would help?
Have you heard some of the predictions that I've made over the years on this show? So, broken clocks and all that sort of stuff. Pog, 3rd, your 4th pick in the 4th round. Emma Raducanu has not been picked, by the way. Just for those keeping track, the defending champion here on the WTA side. Are you going there or are you going somewhere different?
No, I'm definitely not going there. I actually haven't got any men on my team so far, so I'm going to pick a man. And do you know what? Why not? I'm going for Borna Koric.
Alrighty. The thirst of tennis Twitter is strong, not to objectify the poor dude 2 weeks in a row, but it's the first thing that comes to mind. Maybe I'm spending too much time on Twitter these days to see some of the responses to him. His tennis is doing the talking as well recently with that new improved service motion.
Do you think his tennis is communicating more than his butt?
let's go with the tennis. It depends which platform you're spending time on, right? I don't know that Tennis TV or perhaps ESPN are doing a 20-minute segment on the rear end of Borna Coric, but I could be incorrect on that one.
They should grow the game.
Exactly. Grow the game. Priyanka, please save us.
I don't know how. I just had a panic moment of control effing a player in the PDF I'm looking at that didn't show up, but now she's here, and now I'm like, do I go with her because of my panic? Or do I go with... There's there's many people I could go with. I'm going to go with... Because I think this original person is going to fall down to me later. She says famous last words as I scramble and riff. I'm going to go with Hubert Hurkacz. Despite everything that was just said about Nakashima and Hurkacz struggling on hard courts, he's just a nice guy. And I guess I'm the opposite of Dev, that I go for nice players. So a wee bit of trash talk.
Double H doesn't have a great record at the US Open, and he's a very curious one to watch. That section of the draw should be soft enough. Like, he should be able to make it out of that section. So we'll see what happens. Also, it should be noted, it was brought up to me during the break that a big standout player is not playing in this tournament, despite the fact that we said that he would. I will mention, if anyone wants to pick Novak Djokovic just to save my blushes, I'd be happy for them to do that. Luke, please do that. No, maybe not. Who is your fourth overall pick?
I was having flashbacks when you were asking about Emma Raducanu, because if I recall correctly, that's how I ended up picking her for the Wimbledon draft as well. So I am not going to be swayed by your evil ways, and instead I'm going to stay on the Greek Isles, and I'm going to go with Maria Sakkari, who made the semifinals last year at the US Open until she ran into the buzzsaw named Emma Raducanu.
All right, then.
That one still stings.
It does indeed. The guns from Greece go off the board. It's not been the best of years, following up from what was a banner year last year. That being said, I don't think anyone wants to see her coming up in the draw. I think we are at the point in the draft, though, where that's a really, really good selection. Vanch, you close out round 4 and open up round 5, so 2 in a row. Who is your selection in round 4, first of all?
So I'm going to go with the reigning Wimbledon semifinalist, the Mr. Reliable sunscreen man, Cameron Norrie.
Cameron Norrie.
Killer Cam.
I like his section of the draw to get to the quarters. He's got Rublev in there, Shapovalov in there, neither of which I feel great about or are super convincing at the moment. And I feel like he's going to get there.
Did I see earlier today that Cameron Norrie is the 7th seed at a Grand Slam? Goodness me, another one of those that if you told me maybe 2 years ago that he would be not just inside of the top 10, but having a 7 next to his name. Goodness me, this dude has managed to extract every ounce of ability of his game. So fair play for that as a selection. He's, again, Mr. Consistent. It's going to be very, very difficult to knock him out of this tournament. Who do you have to open up round 5, Vanch?
So this could go not so well for me. I could also just ride the momentum, and I'm gonna just go with the Cincinnati champion on the women's side. I'm gonna go with Caroline Garcia. Has only made one major quarterfinal so far, but momentum is real. So
momentum is real, and if you listened to the show last week, I think both of us sort of hedged our bets a little bit of whether or not she could be a Grand Slam champion. I still think she easily has enough game to do it. Whether or not she can string it together for 7 matches, anyone's guess. But I think to get her in round 5 is pretty good value. We are into the value pick territory, Luke. So where are you going?
I'm going to go with someone else who also made a semifinal last year. He can't stop making quarters at the Masters 1000s events. And best of all, he's Canadian. Let's go with Felix Auger-Aliassime.
All righty. Canadian goes off the board. Felix Auger-Aliassime, 6th seed at this year's US Open. He has a lot expected of him. he's got to be considered one of the favorites for this tournament outside of Rafael Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz. Goodness me, but will he put it together at this tournament? I like him in round 5. Priyanka, who is your 5th selection here?
With my 5th pick, I am going to go with a Devang Desai favorite, Belinda Bencic.
It's obscene that I've been targeted this way by one player in the draft. But.
Yes. This is what happens when I don't do my homework.
That's it.
Flying off the cuff of my deep open era podcast knowledge on what would throw you the most, I guess. But she does well on hard courts generally, and Haim's latest album really slapped. So good for her.
She's doubling up her ability to play tennis and be a precocious rock musician as well. Pog, your 5th pick in the 4th pick in the 5th round, if you will. So who's your 5th overall selection?
I think I'm going to go for human pterodactyl Petra Kvitova. Made the final at Cincy. Seemed to be in a good place emotionally. And you can never write her off. And she's built for deep runs. So, yeah.
I love it as a pick. It's a lovely picture.
Yeah. Look, if you're happy off court, you're happy on court.
I agree with that. That seems reasonable. That's a good reason for picking Petra Kvitova. Does she have one more slam in her at past the age of 30 now? I think there's an outside chance that, given the way that everything breaks, that we could see her in the latter stages of this tournament. So I really like it a lot. Devang, where are you heading on the board? It is thinning somewhat, so we're into the stage now of dice rolling as opposed to in round 2.
Wow, get over it, man. Okay, well, there is actual strategy here. I'm loading up on players on the men's side on the top half because I do think Rafa will make the final. So with that in mind, I'm going with the pretty boy, Mr. Hugo Boss himself, Matteo Berrettini.
He is very pretty.
What's Berrettini's record like at the US Open? I don't remember. He has made a deep run, right? Has he made a quarterfinal? Do I remember?
I think he's run into Djokovic a ton. Like, wasn't last year the only player he lost to in majors, Djokovic?
Semifinal in 2019. Lost to Rafa there.
How has Berrettini made the semi-final of the US Open on that surface? Goodness me. Anyway, it's a different story for another time. Perhaps not in the middle of a draft. James, your 5th selection.
All right. So for my 5th selection, I'm going to stay on the WTA. And again, it was down to 2 players. Neither are seeded, but I'm going to go a little more adventurous just because I've been sort of clanging the drum on this player for a long time. Really exciting. So I'm going to pick Zhang Qinwen.
Well, that's a good pick.
Damn it. That's who I thought was going to fall to me.
A little bit of a tricky draw. There's a few things that could go either way, namely first round against Yelena Ostapenko. So again, now that I've picked her, obviously Ostapenko will win. But I think she's just a really, really exciting player. I think she can beat anybody on a day, even at her young age. I think she's still 19, almost 20 now. Just really fun to watch, really big tennis, really great personality. I think she's primed to be a superstar, knowing the market that, again, I know China is a bit of a iffy market with everything going on with the WTA, but still think she's going to be a big deal. And this might be her coming out party.
Absolutely. I think you heard everyone be extremely annoyed in you taking Zhang Qinwen, because I think that's an excellent pick. You go back to start and open up the final round before we get to the wild card, James. The 6th and final round. Final-ish round, regular round, I should say. Who's your 6th selection?
So going through, I was looking at the draw, and I think there's a player that's undervalued, especially on North American hard courts. 2-time Atlanta champion. I'm going to go with Alex de Minaur for my final pick. Again, he runs into PCB in the 3rd round, potentially. Garin in the kind of, again. But I think he's got a good shot to rack up some points.
In the midst of this fantasy draft, you're starting to get to the point of, can you see a player making it past a couple of rounds? Alex de Minaur will definitely give you that. Or else he'll give you another spectacular 5-setter, which lasts 9 hours long. But he's an excellent value pick in round 6. Devang, how many Americans are left to pick Are you going with JJ Wolf? Brooksby's still there. Who else do we have that hasn't been picked? Sloane Stephens is not gone yet. So where are you heading?
I got to go ATP, and I'm having a tough time. I really wanted to pick Tommy Paul. I really did. And also to go with my strategy of picking Americans. But in the interest of racking up points and also feeling like this is basically a clay-ish court, Casper Ruud.
Casper Ruud in round 6. That has to be good value, surely, for... What is he? Is he world number 5 now? Is that what I remember? World number 6 to be taken here? Pretty good. Pog, your last regular selection before we get on to the wild card. Who do you have left on your board?
I'm going to go for Rublev. That's me doing my Aslan. That's me doing my Aslan Karatsev impression. Rublev.
Very good. Love it. A man without a nation. Will that affect his status in this tournament? Will it affect his performance? A man as well who has made a couple of deep runs at the US Open. Again, really good value to find in round 6. Priyanka, your final selection before we get to the wild card.
I'm just going to go with a player who brings me joy and I think flourishes under the lights at Flushing Meadows. And I'm going to go with Big Foe, Francis Tiafoe.
All right.
Trying to spread out my picks amongst the draw, and I'm sure, knock on wood, he gets knocked out by Nadal at some point, but I think he does well here. So that gave me a couple points.
Crowd favorite, he'll ride that wave, and he's also now been picked by Priyanka Dobson, so he has 2 things to work on for this tournament in terms of being inspired. Luke, where are you heading for your final selection before wildcard time?
Man, I hate this. This is hard. There's still a 2 seed sitting out there. And I'm like, should I just pick the 2 seed? And then I'm like, but what if she plays Serena in the second round? That could be terrible. But I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take Annette Kontaveit as my final pick.
Rather you than me, dude.
Absolute silence.
Stunned silence. Stunned.
I invite, it's getting down to the business end of the draft, and the shops are closing up. Right?
We've all been there. Luke. It's okay.
Does it have to come back for her eventually, James? I mean, that's the question
I guess where back is it back to 25 in the world where she was before, like the ruby slipper was fitted onto her, or is it back number 2?
I have no idea, but that is a fascinating player to be picked with the penultimate one in round 6. Also, it should be noted again, Emma Raducanu has not been picked. Are you going to pick her in round 6, Vanch?
I will stay away from that. I will go with... Oh, this is getting really hard now. I will go with Karolina Pliskova. Don't feel that confident about it, but she has made the final here before in 2016. And she did make the semifinals of Canada. And it does feel like the second half of the year is generally better for her. So, gotta go
good
with
selection.
That
one. Why not? I think picking Karolina Pliskova is never a problem in a fantasy draft setting, because you can always look like when she gets to the latter stages of it that you knew it was coming all along. And if she gets knocked out early, it's like, well, whatever, it's fine. Picked her in round 6 anyway. We have reached the part in the draft where the silences grow longer between picks as our players desperately try and figure out what's coming next. Join us after the break as we wrap up this year's fantasy draft at the US Open with our wildcard selections. These are players that have not yet been picked, who are unseeded and are worth double points. We will see you for those selections after the break. Welcome back to the Open Era podcast. It is wild card time for our wild picks. James, you went last in round 1. You go first in the wild card round. These picks are worth double points. Unseeded players. Have you been holding out hope for someone to secretly slip through your fingers here? Who is your selection in the wild card round?
Yeah, there's a few. And I'm just going to go with the one when I did my bracket. This is the person that I said got farthest. I have him getting to the quarterfinals, even though when looking back at his draw, it's insane. I'm picking him to get through a lot. But Emil Ruusuvuori is the one that I'm going with.
Wow.
Ruusuvuori, okay. Was selected by Pog last time, I believe.
He was my wild card last time. Isn't he playing Draper in the first round?
Draper, and then Felix, and then Alex de Minaur. So again, I'm insane.
That's tough, though, but he absolutely demolished Draper at Queen, so why not?
Dev, how is your wild card?
Feels good to say. Feels good to be able to do this in her last tournament ever. But the Deuce Bags are proud to select, with their wild card selection, out of Florida, Serena Williams.
Serena Williams. There it is. Did not get picked in the first 6 rounds, probably for good reason. Excellent choice here, though.
I don't expect any points out of this. The points don't matter. Secretly, they do. But if there is a huge feel-good story here and she does make a run, why not collect some points as well, is my theory.
The whose line is it anyway logic. I've made up games where points don't matter.
Points don't matter.
All right, Pog, who's your wild card? You've been snipped to Ruusuvuori and a Serena Williams. Do you have any left on your board?
Yeah, I've got my eye on Seb Korda, actually. He's in a soft, well, not such a soft part of the draw, but yeah, I mean, he's got a big game, and there's no reason why he can't do a bit of damage. So yeah, Seb Korda.
Good pick. I didn't even realize he was in this tournament. Bloody hell! I had to search for him.
And not ranked. I also didn't realize he was not ranked either.
Damn, great selection. News to me. Priyanka, save me from my blushes. Who else is in this tournament that I don't know about?
I think you do know about this person. There's a nice American I can pick that you do know about, and there's an American I don't like that you know about also, who I will probably pick because I'm doing my best Slytherin this draft and just going for points. I'm going to pick John Isner.
Okay.
Yeah, I really went really went back and forth and picked John with or the other Williams sister, which is much more of a feel good story. But aside from my Hubert Hurkacz pick was just for nice guys, I feel like I've been a Slytherin in this tournament and evil, so why not?
Drew audible boos though. That's the sign of when a player is not liked. So congratulations. For the record, I also really don't like him.
Yeah, some people in the crowd did the backwards hat turn to support you, but others didn't.
Love it. The penultimate pick in this year's draft belongs to Luke Peresti. Who do you have left on the board, Luke?
I gotta say, it's tough times when even guys like Botic are actually seeded in this tournament. You can't even go back to the Botic well to for your wild card pick. I tend to default to previous results because, I believe if you've done it before, you can do it again and, current form be damned. And I'm going to hedge a bit and say that I was extremely close to picking Sophia Kenin here just because it would have been an outrageous call to get right. But unfortunately, I'm not that bold. I'm going to simply play it a little bit more safe and hope that Bianca Andreescu does not let me down.
Yeah, love it. Good pick. Also doing the wonderful hedging of bets which occurs in fantasy draft where you list off a bunch of people first and say them out loud and then pick someone else, just so it looks like you know what you're doing. A strategy which I've employed many times.
Sophia Kenin could play Putintseva in the second round and Ostapenko in the third round. And as a pusher, those are players she is designed to beat. She could make the fourth round by accident, but I just don't think she's match fit enough.
Nope. Fila no longer in the corner as well. Is there any surprise that as soon as she dumps Fila, the ranking takes a plummet? I don't know about that. Watch this space, the Illuminati. Vanch, close out this year's draft. Who is your wildcard selection and the final pick in this year's fantasy draft?
Oof, feeling some pressure here. I'm gonna go with ex-girlfriend of Matteo Berrettini. She is in the Net Contavate quarter, the bottom half. That is Ayla Tomljanovic, 2-time Wimbledon quarterfinalist. I like her sort of section of the draw, with Serena in there, Contavate in there. It's tough to see how that's going to play out. and maybe Ayla Tomljanovic will be the one who capitalizes in that section, along with Fernandez and Trevisan and others.
Congratulations to everyone. We have made it through 7 rounds. We have the opportunity to run through everyone and just make sure we know what our picks are. We'll start with you, Vanch. Tennis Soap. Who were your selections? Who were your 7 picks that you're hoping is going to carry you to the prestigious title of Fantasy Draft winner here at Open Era?
So I know I had Nadal.
You did have Nadal.
Samsonova.
Cam Norrie.
I had Cam Norrie, yes. Tomljanovic.
Caroline Garcia. Karolina Pliskova. It's a pretty good team. That is a pretty darn good team. Luke, Billie Jean King, Arthur Ashe. Did I get that right? I think I got that right. Sorry, apologies if I messed it up.
Billie Jean, King Arthur, Ashe.
Right. Wonderful. Needs a comma in there somewhere. Who's your selections?
On the men's side, I've got Daniil Medvedev, Stefanos Tsitsipas, and Felix Auger-Aliassime. On the women's side, I've got Ons Jabeur, Annette Kontaveit, and Maria Sakkari. And I've also taken Bianca Andreescu as my wild card.
Very nice. Team White Bear. Who is your army going off to war for you?
Just such an incredibly random group of players when you see them listed all together. This would be an odd dinner party, I think, of Taylor Fritz, Daria Kasatkina, Pablo Carreño Busta, Hubert Hurkacz, Belinda Bencic, Francis Tiafoe, and John Isner. What are they going to talk about besides winning me points? I don't know.
It's a fairly consistent group up until Isner gets there, right? The crashing of the party would not be great, like an unexpected fart, perhaps, at a dinner party. In general, apologies for that graphic metaphor.
Wow, high praise.
Indeed so. Oh, gentle Andrew, where art thou? Apparently, Emma Raducanu not listed in this fantasy draft, but who is your selections? Who are your 7 picks?
Well, she may well have been listed had she not gotten rid of gentle Andrew.
This is true.
A year
This is
ago.
true.
So I've got Iga Swiatek, I've got Coco, I've got Naomi, and I've got Kvitova on the women's side. And then on the men, I've got Koric, Rublev, and Sebi Korda.
That feels reading it out like a really good team.
Did we let Pog win again? Did we mess this up?
Very possibly. I have 2 more teams to get through here. See how they sound coming out of their mouths. Who's the douchebags, Devang?
The douchebags are on the women's side: Jess Pegula, Beatrice Haddad Maya, Madison Keys, and Serena Williams. And on the men's side, Nick Kyrgios, Matteo Berrettini, Casper Ruud.
It's not bad. It feels like it's in with a puncher's chance, this one does. And probably dead last. We'll find out in a second. James, who is your selections?
We're called probably dead last, but now when I wrote them all out, I actually kind of like what I ended up with. So Simona Halep, Carlos Alcaraz, Arina Sabalenka, Brandon Nakashima, Jing Kenwen, Alex de Minaur, and wild card is Emil Ruusuvuori.
Okay, then. Any last thoughts? Who thinks they're going to win? Everyone's going to put their hands up at once. But any final thoughts that anyone has in terms of where our selection's made, or players that we missed out potentially? Let's start with you, Devang. Anyone that shocked you that we missed here?
Maybe not shock, because after doing this the first time, it makes sense to me that we could miss players, I guess. But I mean, Paula Badosa wasn't picked. Raducanu, Muguruza, I can understand, but Layla wasn't picked either. And as we know, one of those players will probably win the tournament. I also kind of wish I picked Shelby Rogers, because I got a good vibe about her at this tournament.
Did anyone pick the reigning Wimbledon champion?
Rybakina. No.
Oh.
Also surprised nobody picked Nisimova. I know she's got that foot issue, so it's kind of a big question mark, but she's been, I think, 4th round every Grand Slam so far this year.
She's in that Swiatek quarter section too, and I know Iga's Iga, but who knows recently, so it would have been worth a flyer for sure.
The Muguruza shade as well is palpable. Poor Mugu.
I really wanted to pick. I was pretty close to picking Elise Cornet as my wild card. I feel like she likes being the quote unquote underdog. against Emma, but is she even?
I don't know.
Probably
about
not.
Were there any qualifiers that anybody was tempted to do? I was tempted to do Wu Yibing. I think he's going to be another star. But looking at his draw, he would match up farthest. I think he could get the third round against Medvedev. But anybody else have a qualifier they were looking at?
Chris Eubanks.
Chris Eubanks. I had Ben Shelton listed down just as a wild card as well, just to see what he does in his first tournament. Just with all the things that are said about him, I was very curious to see whether or not he'd get a few wins under his belt.
There's the French player Jean-Jean as well, who did very well at Roland Garros. I honestly just like saying Jean-Jean.
She places Coco in the first round, so that's a tough draw for her.
Mm.
I think my pick for a qualifier upset is going to be Fernanda Contreras Gomez from Mexico. She plays Krejcikova, so that's my big shocking call in the first round is that Krejcikova will go out.
I just like the fact that Gomez plays with sunglasses. I just think more players need to do that. That's my feedback on her play overall, having only seen her play twice, so maybe not the greatest indication on that. Yes, Shapovalov not picked. I did say in the break another one of those that I will now commit to the record. I think he does have a run in him here. He has played well at the US Open. Just a abysmal year, though. I don't need to be the first person to say that, and I know I'm not the first person to say it, but in general, I know it would be shocking, but saying that, I just kind of have a feeling that he might do something at this tournament. Am I insane? I think I am, right?
Yeah, probably.
Probably. That section is weird, though. I think Cam Norrie's there, Holger Rune's there, Rublev's there. Rublev's had a really weird summer, has been not being allowed to play certain places. So I could see, Marin Cilic as well is someone I looked at a bit, but I have a feeling that Coric Alcaraz match will determine a lot about that section. So that's why I stayed away.
We've thrown a lot of shade about not picking past U.S. Open winner Emma Raducanu, but Sloane Stephens, also a past winner that nobody picked, to my knowledge, even at the wild card stage. So I always feel like that's odd.
Too close to Swiatek.
See, I think she could take Swiatek. If I miss last words, but
yeah. Rybakina not being picked is probably the biggest shock out of all of this. I know the Raducanu one is going to get all of the proverbial headlines, but Rybakina is Wimbledon champion. It's not like she's out of form or anything.
No.
she was on someone's team.
Pog picked her, I think.
Like late in the game.
Yeah. It's the Pog.
I did not pick Raducanu.
Rybakina.
Rybakina.
Oh, Rybakina. I was like,
Rybakina.
Did anyone pick Keys?
I did,
Jeff did, I think.
Oh, yes. Okay.
All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you so much to all of our participants. You can follow their exploits over the next 2 weeks. We will be watching with close eyes on everything, and Dev and I will give you an update on next week's show. Enjoy the US Open. Dev and I will be back briefly after the break to give you a wrap-up and chat to you about what's coming over the next few weeks. Thank you very much to all of our guests, and best of luck. Dev, let's just briefly wrap this one up. I think some shocks, some not so shocks as well, but in general, a pretty fun draft to do again. I'm really, really enjoying these. It's one of my favorite things to do on the Open Era.
Super fun. I think the extra wrinkle of being able to pick along different tours as we went definitely opened up for some strategy. I'm a little ashamed of myself for really having the Taylor Fritz strategy being my number 1A and 1B and having to pivot so rapidly and go WTA first. But looking at my team, I'm kind of feeling like I did at Wimbledon, where I had a good shot to do well. I did okay then, but I think there's more star potential here to make a deep run. But it always takes me back to the people who aren't picked, and we're like, how did we do this? But I think there's some logic into every one of these picks that's kind of different for everyone, right?
Well, I think the only logic that's not there is why Rybakina didn't get picked. It's just a forgotten afterthought in a lot of ways, and maybe it's because of her record at the US Open. She hasn't made it past the third round, really hasn't looked like making it past the third round on a sort of slower hard court as well. So potentially that factors in here, but she is still a Grand Slam champion.
She's got a pretty good draw too, so we'll see how this goes.
Always excellent fun. Dev?
Bush, we appreciate the organization efforts as well, because it's a lot to get so many different people from all over the world into one place to record these. So thanks to you, sir. And I can't wait for this tournament to start because it's well underway. By the time you're listening to this, it's either the eve or it's already started. So I hope you're all excited for some more exciting Grand Slam tennis. A reminder, we are on patreon.com/open air. A lot of our participants in the draft today are members of our Patreon as well. And we're chatting tennis with them all the time. If you want to join us there, you get the show ad free, get it early on Sundays. Plus, you could be possibly a future participant in the fantasy draft. Head on over to patreon.com/open air. We're also on twitter.com/open air pod. We'll be tweeting throughout the entire US Open as we get deep into it. And also, if you could be so kind, a rating and a review wherever you get this podcast would be wonderful for us as we try to get this pod into more people's ears. For producer Greg on the ones and twos, and for all of our guests who joined us on the draft, and for Simon, thank you so much for listening to Open Era. We'll talk to you next week.